My name is David Durden, and today I will be speaking on Patricia Robert Miller's book, Demagoguery and Democracy. I will break down the key points in the introduction and Chapter 1 and hopefully increase our knowledge on how demagoguery has negatively affected the political system within our democracy. So in the introduction, she brings up the concept of demagoguery, and that definition is political activity that seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudice of ordinary people rather than using a rational argument. So basically what it's saying is we'll go and we'll vote or we'll agree with people based on who they are and not facts that they have or anything like that. So, and she also explains how this is now commonly practiced in our political system. So within presidential elections and stuff like that, we only vote based off our political parties. She states our political culture has fallen into this, and now has been damaged due to the rise of demagogues, and it's leading people astray. She identifies that in 2003, with the invasion on Iraq, demagoguery became a dominant approach and echoed the events of when major political figures were engaged within slavery. Here she discusses and uses the example that in 1835, when the American Anti-Slavery Society passed out papers, pamphlets, which they actually didn't, and how Martineau asked the southern region if they had ever seen the pamphlets, and when they hadn't, and she wrote about this, Arthur, by the name of William Sims, he got very frustrated, and he said that her argument was wrong due to the fact that he believed the abolitionists didn't see them. He wrote that he thought that she should only believe what the people he respected had to say, and not the facts that people in the South did not see the papers. So basically, he got upset with her because the abolitionist and everybody else that she interviewed did not see the pamphlets that he thought were sent to the southern region. This happened also in 2003 when the assumption of people were making about how to argue in political decisions. So in 2003, whenever we invaded Iraq, people thought that what we were doing was, right, even though there was no evidence that there were, weapons of mass destruction, and how Iraq and Al-Qaeda weren't tied in together. Well, we still assumed that they were, so everybody was thinking yeah, it's okay to send troops and stuff in there and invade Iraq, even though we had no support behind that argument. The argument about weapons of mass destruction was false, and the people in the media who were reporting that said they were wrong for arguing against the people who did not have the same views, and they criticized certain parties and stuff, and they did come out and apologize for that and said what they did was wrong. But they never quit saying that what Iraq was doing was bad, and they still had no supporting evidence. And this is an example of demagoguery whenever people were viewing the media and then still saying oh, Iraq's bad, even though there was no facts. We were just going off base. We were just saying that based off what other people were saying. So she then moves on and she talks about, at the end of the introduction, how demagoguery is about identity, and she quotes that it says that complicated policy issues can be reduced to a binary of us versus them, and based off good and bad, and it's that people recognize there is a bad situation and people don't, therefore determine what policy agenda is best. And it says that we should think entirely in terms of who is like us and who isn't. And then she goes on to talk about how this relates with the Republican and the Democratic parties, or conservative and liberal, and how we will only vote and only agree based off what party we are associated with. And this has become a serious problem, and she says that it undermines the ability of a community to come to a reasonable policy decision and tends to promote or justify violence, but it is rarely the consequences of an individual who magically transports culture into a different world. Demagoguery is about what politicians do. It's about how we as citizens argue, reason, and vote. Therefore, reducing how much our culture relies on demagoguery is our problem, and it's up to us to solve it. So what she's saying is we no longer can make our decisions based off what our political leaders are saying, and instead we should go and we should agree with the facts, and we should vote and do stuff, agree with people who have supporting factual evidence, instead of just, I'm going to vote with him because he's my friend, or because I agree with this point of view. Or because what he's saying, he's a Democrat and I'm a Democrat, or he's a Republican, I'm Republican, so I'm just voting for them, and that we should, get away from that. And then in chapter 1,